The little boy's voice cut through the noise of the crowded cafe like a whisper that somehow felt louder than anything else. "Mom, why does he look like us?" The question was innocent, curious, and completely unplanned, but it stopped everything in its tracks. She slowly turned her head, already knowing who her son was staring at before her eyes even followed his gaze. Across the room, standing near the window, with a phone pressed to his ear, was a man she had tried very hard to forget. Tall, sharply dressed, confident in a way that came from money and power. Daniel Kraus, billionaire, and the one man who could unravel the secret she had protected since the night her entire life changed. 7 years earlier, Emma had been a struggling college graduate, working 2 jobs, barely managing rent and groceries. Daniel had come into her life like a storm she never saw coming. He wasn't just rich, he was kind, attentive, and surprisingly simple when they were alone together. For a brief time, she believed in something she had never allowed herself to believe in before. Love without conditions. A future that felt safe. But life had other plans. Daniel's world was filled with expectations, family pressure, and a future already designed for him by people who believed money could solve everything. When Emma discovered she was pregnant, fear took over. She tried to reach him, but circumstances, misunderstandings, and silence built walls too high to climb. By the time she realized those walls might never come down, she had already made the hardest decision of her life. She left. No dramatic goodbye, no explanation, just distance. Emma raised her son, Leo, on her own. She worked tirelessly, laughed loudly to hide exhaustion, and loved fiercely to make up for what she believed was missing. She told herself that Daniel didn't need to know, that Leo didn't need a billionaire father. What he needed was stability, honesty, and a mother who never gave up. And for 7 years, that belief carried her through sleepless nights, school mornings, and birthdays where she silently wondered if Leo would ever ask about the man who wasn't there. She never imagined fate would place them in the same cafe. On a random afternoon, Daniel ended his call and looked up, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on Leo. The resemblance hit him instantly, like a punch to the chest. Same dark eyes, same thoughtful expression. Even the slight tilt of the head was familiar in a way that made his breath catch. Then his gaze shifted to Emma, and time seemed to fold in on itself. Shock turned into disbelief, then something softer. He walked toward them slowly, as if afraid the moment might disappear if he moved too fast. Emma stood up, her hands shaking. She wanted to leave, to run, to protect the life she had built. Curiosity, sparkling. Daniel stopped a few feet away, his voice quiet but unsteady. He said her name like it was a memory he had rehearsed 1,000 times, but never expected to speak out loud again. Emma swallowed hard. There was no script for this moment, no plan. Just truth, waiting to spill out. They talked, at first awkwardly, then carefully, and finally, honestly. Emma told him everything. About the pregnancy, the fear, the loneliness, and the choice she made thinking it was best for everyone. Daniel listened, really listened, his expression shifting between regret and awe as he looked at the boy who unknowingly carried his smile. He wasn't angry. He wasn't loud. He was quiet in a way that showed how deeply the truth had landed. Leo sat between them, swinging his legs, sensing something important was happening. When Daniel finally knelt down to Leo's level and introduced himself, there was no accusation in his voice, no sadness, just simple curiosity. Emma held her breath. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He didn't bother to hide. Leo thought for a moment, then smiled wider and said he was. The days that followed were filled with conversations Emma never imagined she would have. Daniel wanted to know everything. First words, favorite food, nightmares, dreams. He showed up, not with gifts or grand gestures, but with time. Emma watched carefully, protective but hopeful. The media found out, of course. A billionaire with a long-lost child was a headline too tempting to ignore. Others questioned her choices. But, for the first, he made a public statement, not polished or rehearsed, but honest. He acknowledged his son, took responsibility for the lost years, and asked for privacy to build what should have. It existed all along. Emma worried about how the spotlight might affect Leo, but Daniel surprised her again. Not the kind that appears overnight, but the kind built. Through consistency, Emma allowed herself to breathe again. To believe that maybe, just maybe, life had brought them back together for a reason. One evening, as they sat together watching Leo fall asleep, Daniel admitted the secret he had carried. For 7 years, too, he had searched for her. Not endlessly, not perfectly, but enough to know he never stopped wondering. Hearing that cracked something open in Emma's heart. For the first time, she let go of the guilt she had wrapped around herself for so long. The story didn't end with a fairy tale kiss or instant perfection. It ended with something better. A family learning, adjusting, and choosing each other every day. Leo gained a father. Daniel gained a son, and Emma gained something she thought she had lost forever. Not just love, but understanding. And every once in a while, when Leo looks up at both of them and laughs, Emma remembers that moment in the cafe. The simple question that changed everything. Mom, why does he look like us? Sometimes, the truth finds its way out, no matter how long it's been hidden. And when it does, it has the power to heal what time could not.